Okay, let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the
to the
flag
flag
of the United States of
America,
and
and
to
to the
the
republic
for which it
stands
stands one
one
nation
nation
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we have 4 commissioners and guests. We don't have a quorum. We can't approve the June minutes yet. Hopefully we will before oh, Jean just checked in. Jean, are you there? I see her name, but not her face.
Jean, at the bottom of your screen on the bottom left, there should be an audio control. You need to join the meeting audio with your computer or phone. And she probably didn't hear that because her audio's not on yet.
Okay, I will text her that.
Well,
I'm also, you have to bear with me because I'm also our clerk.
oh, okay. Well, why don't we begin with the Long Hill Green presentations, and we can go back to the minutes later.
Okay, if I can just kick it off a little bit, and you know, we didn't have our August meeting because of the storm, so Ralph and I thought it was best that we just go to the September meeting. So I want to thank our guests. We have Matt Fulda here. He is the Executive Director of the MetroCog, which is our regional planning agency, a great support to all the towns in the region and especially Trumbull. He's a partner on some of the updated, you're going to hear updates on 2 areas of town, and he's a partner in his organization, is a partner in both of those areas. Fred Mesha from Ty and Bond is one of our lead consultants, along with Craig Giannis, for the Route 111 trail crossing and light out in front of the Fitness Edge Plaza, that whole update that we're going to give. Gary Storage and Ken Gannon are joining us from Stantec. They are our consultants on the Long Hill Green projects. We have George Estrada, our esteemed Public Works Director, who joined the city back in January. He's been doing a phenomenal job. And did I say Bill Maurer, our town engineer, who's just boots on the ground every day, helping on all of this and helping to lead all of this. So we just want to thank all of you for joining the commission and helping us to update the commission and those members of the public that are watching about some of the public infrastructure projects that we've talked about for a long time and where they're at. We haven't been able to hold a full in-person community meeting recently because of everything going on, but I just want to mention that First Selectman Tesoro has asked me to help schedule a town hall type meeting in September where the public would receive an update on these 2 projects, other public infrastructure projects in town that are underway and happening and being implemented, and then some private development projects like the ones over in the Oakview Lindeman Reservoir area and others, to give the community a sense as to what's going on in the public and private realm in terms of development, since we don't have as many in-person meetings, community meetings, that kind of thing. So you'll be hearing from me, and I hope the commission will join that town hall meeting. We're hoping to have it probably the 2nd week of, or not the week immediately following Labor Day, but the following week. So we're going to be getting out a release and an email to everybody. And some of the folks that are here today presenting will also give some update comment at that town hall meeting. So that's coming. I think we're going to start with the Route 111 project, the redirection of the trail, and that project has some tag-along pieces on Spring Hill Road and so forth. Matt Fulda, the Executive Director of the MetroCog, was instrumental in helping us to secure the funding for this project. It is fully funded. Fred and Bill are going to tell us where the project is, and Matt can chime in, and George Estrada, if need be, on any details that anyone might have. What I'd like to do is take, after their presentation, if Ralph, you feel this is okay, take comments or questions from the commissioners, and if there are any from the public, only because Then we're going to shift to another side of town, and the comments might be totally different there. Does that sound like a good plan?
Sure. Fine by me.
So I'm going to turn it over to Fred and Bill and the team here for their update on.
Okay, this is Fred Masha from Ty and Bond. I want to share my screen so I can at least. Does everybody see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, this is basically a Google Map aerial of the area we're going to be talking about. Everybody's, assuming, is familiar with Monroe Turnpike that pretty much runs north-south. And this is the shopping center with Edge Fitness and a few other stores. Old Mine Road is over here. The existing trail crossing is right in this location here. Everybody knows you come up Old Mine Road, you go across the trail here, catch it, and then you continue on. The trail continues north up towards Spring Hill Road. This project is proposing a traffic light at the center of the shopping center. And I'm going to switch to the drawing that shows that much more detail. Apologize for it being turned, but it's north is still to the right, still going north. This is the overall plan showing the new traffic signal at the entrance to the shopping plaza. By doing this plan, we're eliminating the existing trail crossing. Just recently, I think 6 months ago, the trail crossing, the existing one, was upgraded to a rapid flashing beacon light. That was going in knowing full well that the shopping center was going to be getting the signal, but because of the time constraints and the safety, that rapid flashing beacon was put in. But we do have plans for that in the future. So what you're seeing here is the new traffic signal here. And what we're going to do is, instead of having the trail crossing Route 111 at this location, bring the trail up along the east side of Route 111 to the location of the signal, cross over. There'll be pedestrian push buttons to control the trail crossing, and then come back down the other side of Route 111 and eventually intersect with the Aquanic Trail. So basically what this does is it solves an issue with the shopping center needing a traffic light and getting a traffic light working as a control for the trail crossing. Also, what's in this project is to do the traffic light, we have to do some restriping of Route 111, and actually there's a slight widening in 111 on the eastbound side to get proper turning lanes. And then that just continues up. So the area that you see in this light gray is the entire area that's going to get repaved, restriped. The widening is just along this section of the road over in here. As also part of this project is this is the driveway to the condos, and right now they're restricted with a right turn in going south and a right turn exit continuing south. This plan will change that so that somebody coming out of the condos can turn left or right coming out of the condo complex. I will jump up to a couple blow-up details. Now, to build the driveway and meeting with the DOT requirements for this area, we have to do a little bit of modification to existing traffic circulation in the parking lot. Basically, right now, there's a driveway that exits right here. We're going to close that off, rearrange a couple parking spaces, and that is so that cars exiting from this part of the parking lot will not interfere with the traffic queuing up at a light. Because once we have a light there, somebody coming out without a light, they can just go freely. But once there's a traffic light there, there will be traffic queuing up in the driveway. And if you get cars coming out of here, that'll just botch up the flow. And it's something DOT wanted. They want us to close it off. So that's part of the project. Then further north, up where the condo driveway is, we're rebuilding this island, basically getting rid of all this area that's shaded, reducing the island width so that somebody coming out of the condo project can go either left or right. Now I'm going to switch back to this other drawing. As part of our work with the DOT, they're requiring us that this new traffic signal here gets coordinated with the 6 signals going further north. So they will be, and Craig can answer those questions a little bit better than I, but they will be interconnected to the point that you won't hit a red light each time. They'll either all go red or all go green. So they'll work in unison. They'll be independent of the massive traffic signal operation down at 25 and 111. That operates totally independent of everything else. But the DOT wanted the new signal we're putting at this location to integrate with, I think it's 5 or 6 signals to the north. And that's part of our plans. We did prepare 30% plans. We submitted to the district office of DOT and also went to the state Office of State Traffic Authority. It used to be STC, now it's OSTA. They have reviewed it. We've made some of the adjustments that they're looking for. Most of their comments were very minor in nature. We're ready to resubmit it back to them for them to give us a blessing on the signal. The only glitch in that is we have to go next Tuesday night to the police commission. We need them to give us an official acceptance of a signal being located at this location. Once we get that letter from them, the package goes back to the OSTA and DOT, and they'll continue their review. But as far as signals go, the DOT was brought in early on in this project, way back, I believe, in September, October, and the town requested they expedite the reviews, and so far they have. Normally getting a new signal could take years. We've already got, in less than 6 months, we've already got most of the comments we're going to get, and once we do our resubmission and response to the comments, we expect it to go very quickly. As far as the project is, we expect to get full approvals by late fall, early winter. Project will have to go through MetroCog for final funding authorization through DOT, because a different section of DOT funds the project, independent of the people that approve it. They'll give authorization hopefully around Christmas, early January, go out to bid, get this project bid, and it could probably start when projects start up again, April. And once it goes under construction, it's probably from start to finish, it's probably a 3 to 5 month project for construction. Traffic signals are a unique animal. Usually takes almost 2 months for a contractor to order and get shipment of the traffic signal equipment. So if they sign the town signs a contract with a contractor in April, he won't even get his equipment until end of May, early June. So it takes a lot of lead time on ordering signal equipment, but we expect it to be fully operational, hopefully by this time next year. And I think that's my
Okay.
presentation. Unless Bill wants to add something, or we can open it to questions.
No,
Yep.
just
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
there is a retaining wall going on the south side in front. If you could just touch on that, because this is actually a wide portion of the trail. It's like 10 feet wide.
Yeah,
is that
let me go
correct?
back to the trail plan. Okay. Yeah, what Bill had mentioned, right along this area here, there's going to be a requirement of a retaining wall, because what we're doing on this trail is when we start at Old Mine Road, we're building a 10-foot trail all the way up to here. We're keeping a grass strip separating the curb line of the relocated Run 11 with the trail. And that grass strip varies from 3 to 5 feet. But to do that work, an easement will be required from 48 Monroe Turnpike and a retaining wall along this area here. Once we cross over the road, again, we'll be going with another 10-foot trail from this point all the way down to where it intercepts the existing trail. Again, the final design plan actually has this trail pushed a little bit further away from Route 111, which gives us a lot more grass space along this area. Also in the project is a 5-foot sidewalk from the shopping center up to the driveway to the condos.
Is there any pole relocating?
We got it down to 1 pole and 4 guide wires that need to be relocated. So we started off with the utilities, looking at 7 or 8 telephone poles that would be relocated. We adjusted the trail, jockeyed around with the retaining wall. So it's just 1 pole, and I think it's 4 or 5 guide wires. Right now they angle down, so we'll probably put in what they call a sidewalk guide wire. It comes down, it's got the 10-foot brace. So basically the trail can go underneath the guide wire and still have its full 10-foot width.
What are you proposing for the retaining wall? What kind of finish on that?
We're using a precast segmental block wall. Depending on which manufacturer, they all make different variations of that so that they look like stone walls. They could be colorized to mimic fieldstone walls. And that was the intent, to do that. We're trying to stay away from a standard reinforced concrete wall with stone veneers, but mainly for the ease of construction and the quickness. The retaining walls go in, these segmental block walls go in very quickly. They're not like what you normally see on a bunch of Home Depots, those little keystone blocks that are 12 inches wide, 8 inches high. These blocks are actually very large. They're anywhere from 18 inches to 2 feet high, 6 feet long, and they go back 3 to 4 feet, but the front face is cast concrete, but it's finished like stonework. And once we get a couple different cut sheets from vendors, we'll share that with the town so they can select which one they would like. It's used all over the place. It's a good substitute for the old-fashioned stone walls.
Fred, in addition to this main part, the trail connector and the light, can you talk about the Old Mine Road piece and the Spring Hill Road, just so that folks know those 2 add-on pieces to the project?
Yeah, on Old Mine Road, we're not doing any improvements to it per se, but we are going to be restriping the road to give a shoulder on there. We're not doing any trail work, but just like what you see on this plan, restriping it. I'm going to have to switch to another map now. Just keep in mind, we just put in this brand new rapid flashing beacon. Town owns that. Even though it's a state highway, the town owns all that equipment. When this new signal goes in, the project is going to require that equipment to be removed. So I'm going to go over to this one here. Now, originally in this project, we did have the trail crossing, and I'm following the trail. Everybody's familiar with the transfer station and the bus parking. The trail crosses Spring Hill Road at this location. Improvements to this part of the trail was initially included in this funding package. It's going to be transferred to a funding package that includes work on Spring Hill Road. But either way, we're going to take and salvage the newly install, then remove rapid flashing beacon, and actually there's enough equipment for 2 locations, we're gonna put 1 set right out here on Spring Hill Road. So that improves this trail crossing with the same equipment. The DOT is gonna require us to remove the underground work, the foundations that hold the push buttons and all the equipment, and we have a perfect location to set up one of them. The other set will go to DPW yard for storage and for the town to find another location that they could use it on. So rapid flashing beacon that was installed on 111 was a town project funded by the town. The DOT will, this new funding for the DOT will help pay to remove that equipment and reinstall it, whether it's under the Route 111 project or the Spring Hill Road project. And Spring Hill Road is not as far as long as the Route 111. Plan-wise, Spring Hill Road is complete. We have to work with MetroCog to secure the final funding for that. If this is delayed for any reason, we do have funding in the Route 111 project to pay to upgrade this crossing here.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on this presentation?
I just want to add one
Oh,
more thing.
Jane-
So if anybody,
Gene?
yeah, I'd like to add one more thing to Spring Hill Road.
All right,
If anybody goes to the transfer station on a springtime Saturday, they know the traffic is horrendous. What we're doing is, as part of the Spring Hill Road project, which actually started before the 111 project, was to improve this to allow traffic coming in from Route 25 going to the transfer station. We're allowing a turning lane into the transfer station and through lanes through Spring Hill Road, so it's not this large bottleneck. We understand at times, at peak times in the springtime, traffic backs all the way up to Route 25. And there's been times that state police have closed down access to it because they just said it's too much. And then we're also doing some improvements on the transfer station to allow more cars to get in there to improve the queuing. So there'll be that improvement. And basically both the Spring Hill Road project and the Route 111 improvement project are parts of the project from the overall MetroCog town study of the Route 111 25 regional planning. And these first 2 projects came out of that study. Okay, now I'm done.
all right. Gene, did you have a question?
I do. Jean Gibbs. I was just wondering, are there lampposts in that section? Because every time I drive by, it's during the day, and I never really thought about it until he just described it. I was just wondering, what does the lighting look like at night? Does anybody know? I was just curious.
Are you talking about 111 or on Spring Hill?
On 111, in between Old Mine and where the light's going to go, I was just curious. Now there's going to be this really cool pathway. How will it be illuminated at all?
If I
Currently,
may,
that road is illuminated.
yeah, but
Okay.
if I may, this is George Estrada. There are hours of operation for the trail. So really, prior to dusk, the trail is closed. So we wouldn't have the same type of pedestrian concerns.
I am aware of the trail hours. I was just wondering. Next time I drive by, I'll take a closer look. Okay.
Okay, any other questions on this presentation? Well, thank you. Let's move on.
Ralph, I'm sorry, Ralph, can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
Couple of quick comments. First of all, I see a lot of changes from the initial presentation that was done at the town hall. God, what feels like 100 years ago, but I think it was just back in January. And I see a lot of the comments that at least one person made included in here. So thank you for that. One thing, I just, one person's comments. One thing I remember is that there is a fire hydrant along what will be the trail, that side of the road where the retaining wall is going to be. Were you able to move that, or is that not in the way?
That is in the way, and we're gonna have to relocate that a couple feet.
Okay, great, super. So that's not going to be in the road or in the pathway. That's great. And
No, we're gonna actually, we're gonna relocate it so it's not like at the edge of the trail. We don't want it to be a knee knocker on the back of the hydrant. So we're gonna keep it a couple feet away from the trail.
fantastic. And 10 feet is great that you were able to squeeze that in. Congratulations. That must have been some difficult work to figure that out. One comment on the exit from the 111, the parking lot there. It still looks like a fairly wide angle turn. Is that going to be flagged no turn on red? My concern is cars that are leaving will look up the road and not see a car, and because of the turn radius being fairly broad, they'll be able to roll through that pretty quickly, and that puts them right in the path of, or puts pedestrians right in their path. I see it as a pedestrian, I see it all the time, and I'm wondering whether that will be flagged no turn on red, and attendant to that, whether it'll be a dedicated pedestrian crossing on the push button.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yep, I'm
put
here.
this on the spot and have him come in and at least answer that question.
Yeah, this is Craig Yanis. So you're talking about southbound on 111 for the right turn on red?
Right, cars exiting the parking lot to turn south on 111, yep.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, exiting the parking lot, okay. So we have looked at that. We've discussed it with the state. As of right now, we're not going to put a restriction on right turns. What we do have here is an overlapping right turn out. So when the northbound left turns go, the right turns can go out of the plaza. So that gives us some extra capacity. So if we were to put in a right turn restriction, we could do that, not too much effort. In terms of that, what guides that is that, you know, the sight lines are acceptable up the hill, but acknowledging that the speeds are very high. So it's definitely something that we've thought about, and we'll take another look at it again with your comment in mind. And what was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
Well, to be clear, Craig, thank you. But to be clear, my concern is not about the traffic coming down the hill. My concern is about the pedestrians crossing in front of the exiting traffic, and cars that was turning right really look to the right. So, okay.
And that was the other part. That was the other part of your question. So the state's new directive is that all crossings, or as many crossings as they can do, are concurrent, meaning that there's vehicles moving at the same time as pedestrians. We've made a strong case here, and we do have an exclusive pedestrian phase for both cars crossing the driveway and crossing 111. So that will definitely be part of the project.
Great, thank you. That's it, thank you, Ralph.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this presentation? All right, can we move on to the Long Hill Green improvements?
Yeah, I just want to say that many of you are following, I know, the progress in Long Hill Green. You've been watching the redevelopment of the former Marissa's site. You know that we did the patio parking flip project out in front of Franco Gianni's. That was a completed project. And I just want to mention that both for the Route 111 project that we just heard about, and for the Long Hill Green project, we have two separate teams of our consultants, MetroCog, and our town staff that meet once a month. We are really trying to move these projects along in a very tight and effective manner, because they are not only critically important to the economic vitality of each of those areas and to the resident experience, but they are safety related improvements. And Vicki, our first selectman, has, you know, prioritized the improvement of safety in these two areas. So I just want folks to know that we are meeting as a team, and I have to, you know, thank my colleagues that are on the call tonight and those that aren't for the great work that they're doing in between those meetings to make sure that these projects are moving much faster than traditionally you'll see public infrastructure projects that DOT is involved with move. So I just want to say that when it comes to Long Hill Green, there's progress happening. There's private progress happening with the Marissa's redevelopment that's taking shape. And then there's a number of grants that were accessed. So we're piecing together all kinds of funding to make projects happen. You'll remember that we did a comprehensive sort of mini master plan for Long Hill Green. We're following that plan and implementing projects. On the Route 111 project, you heard Matt Fulda, I believe it was, or Bill Mauer, I think it might have been Bill, say that these projects are part of the Route 111 25 plan that the town of Monroe, the town of Trumbull, the DOT and MetroCog did together. So what we've been doing, and I want to make this point to all the commission members and to anybody from the public that's listening, we're doing the planning, but the plans are not sitting on a shelf. These plans are being activated. We're pursuing funding and projects in a prioritized manner, and we're managing the implementation of those projects. So a lot of times you hear, oh, another plan, but that's not how we've been approaching it. And the planning has really helped us to win quite a bit of money for these two areas. So in the Long Hill Green area, there are multiple projects underway. The only completed project on the public side was the patio project. And I have to tell you, given what's happened with COVID and the impact to our restaurants, it's really nice to have the realignment of that parking and the extra outdoor dining for those restaurants. It could possibly help save, you know, some of our businesses, in addition to the stormwater management benefits that are really were really the impetus of the project. So I'm going to turn over the presentation on Long Hill Green to Gary Sorge and Ken Gannon, our consultants, and Bill Mauer. But they are going to talk about little projects that are happening and one that will be getting off the ground very quickly. And we'll be informing the public. I'm working on a public announcement of the sidewalk project on Whitney Avenue that they will talk about first.
Before you start with that, Rena, do you need Craig and I to stay on the call, or?
I'll ask the commission if you want them to stay on the call, if you think there'll be other questions for our consultants from the Route 111 area.
Anybody think they'll have additional questions here? Or can we let these good people go here? All right, fine by me.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you
with
very
us.
much for your presentation.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Fred.
Okay, let's
Who's
move
who's
on.
sharing the screen?
Gotta stop sharing. Hello, everyone.
I'm trying to figure it out. Trying to hang up.
No worries. Is Bill Chin here? Maybe he can give some guidance.
I'm sorry. I was giving Luke a snuggle.
He needs to unshare his screen.
Sure thing.
There we go.
And hello, everyone. This is Gary at Stantec. And Raina and Bill, you give us screen control. We'll share our screens.
Sure. You should have the ability to share your screen.
Got it. It just popped up. Thank you. All right, let me call up we have a presentation for you. And Raina gave you quite a bit of background. Can everyone see my screen?
Not yet.
Just give a shout when you can see the cover slide.
Not yet.
Bill, have I done everything that I need to do?
So at the first step is to open the presentation, and then the
It's
second
open.
step to hit the green share screen button, and that'll bring up a window.
Okay.
Once that happens, select it and hit the share button.
Gotcha. I've been more familiar with Teams recently, so apologize. Let's see, just to make sure I select the right one. Here we go. Share. How about now? How are we doing?
Good.
Okay, all set?
Yep.
All right, so, well, thank you, everyone. Again, I assume that everyone can see the cover slide. This is Long Hill Green Improvements. And Rena, thank you for the introduction. That covered quite a bit of the background that we have for you today. And Kent Gannon is with me. Kent is the project engineer for the projects that we're sharing with you this evening. So this is about Long Hill Green. If you recall, back in, I believe it was 2018, we completed an overall master plan for the Long Hill Green area. And these projects are essentially really derived from that plan. And when we were looking at Long Hill Green in its entirety, you'll see along the top, along the banner, major principles that we were considering: connectivity, traffic and parking, placemaking, business activity, landscape and aesthetics, the utility interactions, space programming and zoning, but focusing mostly on connectivity with the projects we're sharing with you this evening. So there are two completed projects that, again, derive from that master plan and other efforts from the town. Part of the magic in this has been obtaining the funding to make these projects real. So the Whitney Avenue right turn lane onto Main is complete. That was completed by another firm, but it's certainly something that we have to keep in mind as these other projects progress. The Broadway stormwater quality and parking space enhancements, that project is complete. That was completed last fall, 2019. And yeah, the benefits of creating that space, when you look back over this COVID experience, well, it's really been beneficial for the local businesses. So this is just simply an engineering drawing showing the right-hand turn lane that was added on Whitney Avenue. It allows the right-hand turn onto Main Street. So this was completed back in 2019. What you're seeing here on the left is a clip and plan view of the southern portion of Broadway. That includes that parking transformation, the extended patio from the face of Gianni's, which in fact created this outdoor seating space. And then the pavement that you see here is all pervious. It has done, I believe, an exceptional job since last winter, absorbing quite a bit of stormwater from the area. It's been functioning very well. The area that you're seeing closer to the buildings now includes the planters and the outdoor dining that so it's really supported the Franco Gianni's business over the past 5 or 6 months, 4 months. Alrighty, so we'll move forward. And then we have projects that are ongoing. We have the Main Street sidewalks, the Main Street and Whitney Avenue traffic signal, and we also have the Whitney Avenue sidewalk connection to the Paquonic River Trail. And we're calling this phase 1 and phase 2, because there's a portion that's been bid, and construction will be underway very shortly. And there's a phase 2 portion which will take the trail from Dunellen Road down to the PRT at Whitney Avenue. So we're saying we'll refer to that as phases 1 and 2. And Ken's going to help me with some of the technical details of the plans I'm going to share with you next. So let's look at those 3 projects in this sort of color-coded scheme here. The Main Street sidewalks are shown in red that you see here, and the extent will be from Gisela Road up to the intersection of Whitney and Main. And it'll also extend from the the northern portion of the former Marissa's site up to Whitney Avenue and make its way down towards Broadway. So what you're seeing here in red essentially defines that connectivity grant and the new sidewalks that will be on Main Street. The Main Street and Whitney signal is essentially the area you're seeing here in red. I'm sorry, in yellow. And it includes a reorganization of the curb cuts on Main Street, namely the west side, and it'll involve some traffic lane configuration as you're approaching the intersection from both the north and the south. And we'll have another plan that Kent can refer to in a second. And then the Whitney Avenue sidewalks, well, this is just showing us connecting down to Dunellen Road, that little green mass that you're seeing in the top right-hand corner of the illustration. It will continue in this phase 2 from Dunellen down to the Paquonic River Trail at Whitney Avenue, about the same distance as you're seeing here in green. So the Main Street sidewalks, Kent, do you want to share some of the details behind the Main Street sidewalks project, where it stands and what we're currently working through?
Yeah, I can share that. So the Main Street sidewalk project we've been working on for the past year or so here. This has been reviewed by the DOT district and also by DOT hydraulics unit. The reason it was reviewed by the DOT hydraulics unit is there's a modification of the existing culvert that kind of transects the road west to east, north of the Whitney Ave intersection. With this modification, there's actually a floodway attached to the broken culvert. So we've basically gone ahead and completed a study that proves that the modifications we have planned there will have no adverse effects to the waterway. And that's essentially where it stands. We have the comments back. So, we'll be addressing those shortly. We also have some easements that are going to be required in order to construct this sidewalk. And Bill may be able to fill in, exactly where those stands a little bit more than I can. But what we've tried to do is keep this 5-foot wide sidewalk separated from the roadway to provide a nice green snow shelf and a little buffer. So it's a little bit more comfortable if you're obviously walking along the roadway. You're not right up against the road, but in order to do that in a couple locations, there'll be some sidewalk easements needed from the adjacent properties.
The easements they've gone through P&Z for an 824 referral that was approved last week. And it will have to go to, am I correct, to town council for final approval?
Yes,
So we got to get on a schedule for that.
right. So the attorneys are working, Bill, with the property owners?
Not yet. I
So
think
that
that we
has
just,
to be, done, prior to them. Those easements have to be negotiated.
yes.
So that would be the next step, and then town council approval of those mutually agreed to negotiations.
So are those pieces falling into place? Construction start anticipated, or at least hoping for spring 2021. We have an opinion of probable cost, Kent, I believe at 310,000, including the incidentals and contingency. And that, again, the project has not been bid yet, but that is what we have currently estimated for the cost for construction. Okay. And this is the exhibit that shows the area in green. The photos up top were taken during different times of the year. You know that Main Street has some especially wide shoulders on Main Street. They also accommodate passing vehicles when others are making turns into the various developments along the way. So, and those shoulders also provide some comfort for cyclists who are using Main Street. As we look forward, again, you're seeing the green bands down below. We will require some alteration of the lane striping as we approach the intersection namely from the north, and to allow a left-hand turn lane onto Whitney Avenue at the signal. Okay. And then we have the Whitney Avenue and Main Street traffic signal. Kent, do you want to share some details here? And also maybe the question that was asked earlier about the pedestrian prioritization. You might want to shed some detail on that as well.
Yeah, sure. So same thing as the Whitney Ave sidewalks, the DOT district office has reviewed and provided their comments. Nothing too major that came out of those. We are still awaiting the DOT traffic department comments from the main office in Newington. We were actually promised those a couple weeks ago, haven't received them yet. So, we'll be following up in the next couple of days, hoping to get those. Our signal, obviously there's not a plan on the screen here. Gary, do you have a plan?
Yes.
Next slide. We did have a preliminary meeting, and I forget the date. I think it was maybe last summer, where we met with the district and also traffic engineering from Newington. So we went over the design of this Long Hill Green. So it's actually slightly changed from what we've seen here. This plan, I think, was actually, we might have taken this from when we met with the traffic or the police commission So what came out of the police commission meeting was they had suggested we relocate the crossing at Route 111 Main Street to the north side of the Whitney Ave intersection. And that's mostly for a safety concern, as people, as you're probably all familiar, if you travel north along Main Street, you're coming around the corner there, and some people travel at a high rate of speed. So if someone was traveling kind of fast and they get a red light, then it will reduce the maybe conflict point of someone stopping past the stop bar and potentially hitting someone within the crosswalk. So we've moved that crosswalk to the north side of Whitney Ave, and the crossings here do have their own phase. So they'll be on their own pedestrian phase, not concurrent with any turning movement.
So going back to the previous slide, we have anticipating construction beginning here also in the spring of 2021, where we sit today. The opinion of cost is roughly $534, including incidentals and contingency. What I'd like to note on this plan, and it's a positive byproduct of the signalization, is reducing, or at least eliminating, one curb cut along the frontage along the west curb of Main Street. Now, three properties are being served here, actually four, because the property where you see the number 2 is actually 2 separate lots. And same owner or same partner is involved with the ownership of those properties. But there was a concern about eliminating one more curb cut, and if the property were to be divided or sold in the future, that rear property would not have its own dedicated access. So what we did with the entry drive off of Main Street is it is split across the property line, so that it is both properties have a stake in that intersection, in that driveway. In other words, one owner could never eliminate it at the expense of the rear property. So but through that work and coordinating with DOT, we're able to eliminate one of the curb cuts on the middle parcel. The parcel to the veterinary office, or the access to the veterinary office where the number 1 is, will remain, and the access to the property to our south where the 3 will also remain. But at the location 2, we're eliminating one of the curb cuts. So that was just a clear takeaway, and actually, again, a positive result of the signalization plan. The Whitney Avenue sidewalks are further along. The town received bids on July 30th for phase 1, which creates a sidewalk connection from Long Hill down to Dunellen Road. Those bids were favorable in terms of their comparison to the engineer's estimate. And construction, if it has not begun, is close to beginning. There's already been a site walk with the contractor to scope out some of the initial efforts. And then that construction is scheduled to be completed within 100 days. So this is Whitney Avenue. Again, it's an engineering drawing. What you're seeing to the left is west, to the right is to the east, heading off towards Daniels Farm Road. You can see Dunellen Road. Essentially, phase 1 is the shaded piece. Phase 2 goes off to the right of the plan. The photos at top show you the steep slopes that we're working with to make the connection. It is level at the north side. It levels off a bit as you approach Dunellen, but the section in between gets pretty steep. It's almost like a velodrome. And what you're seeing on the right side is the sidewalk that was installed for the Long Hill improvements that we will pick up on and extend down to Dunellen Road. And I believe we have a before and after. So this is a section along the steeper portion of the sidewalk length. We will be cutting into that slope and then creating this walkway that you see here. The engineered blocks are similar to what the folks had discussed earlier, large segmental blocks that have a more natural appearance to them. They're actually capped off so we can bring the plantings right over the top of them so they don't have that engineered commercial look, that they'll fit as well as we can within the local context, being more natural, very New England-like, trying to get a mottled finish on the concrete as well. So it looks like a natural condition as opposed to a rigid engineered wall. And it will be terraced so that you'll have an opportunity for maintenance, will have an opportunity to blow snow to the first level and not have to compete with the tallest wall. It's a stepped wall. So we break down the height and it doesn't seem as daunting to folks who are actually walking on the sidewalk. And it'll be appropriately landscaped. There will be tree removals, but there is a planting plan to restore those trees that will be here for the next 100 years. We have talked to one of the local residents who is right on top of the project. We've kept them apprised of the work and the construction, and they've been on board and looking forward to the improvements. We just want to keep them apprised of the work going forward. And I believe that's what we have. Long Hill Green, the green itself, we're trying to be creative with Rena and her team and finding funding to do some of the work there. There is some work that we've earmarked in the past that could be done by town staff, but we know the town staff is also very stretched with projects, the routine projects and storm damage and such, so it's been difficult to get something really going on that front. But there are some simple projects that can be done in the future. Information signage is part of the Broadway project that needs to be created and installed. And then there are also plans for an enhancement for the corner of Main Street and the Long Hill Green. That would be a signature arrival, so destination signage for that corner. And someone is likely going to ask me about the black and yellow signs. We can never have a meeting on Long Hill without talking about the black and yellow signs. If we're able to pull funding from one of the grant projects and install landscaping at the south end of Broadway, that should satisfy DOT and allow us to do something much more modest in terms of signage on Main Street on that corner. But until the landscaping is installed, those black and yellow signs will likely remain. Again, when the landscaping can be installed and it's clear that the roadway doesn't continue through, more modest treatment would be well received for that corner. And I believe that's all we have. We're happy to take any of your questions.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions for on these projects?
Ralph, I have a couple of, if I can.
Okay.
This is Shelby. Shelby Levino, sorry. I should have identified myself earlier. I apologize. This looks great. I'm really excited to see this with a number of the volume of pedestrian activity that we've seen in town increasing as dramatically as it has, up hundreds of percent. I think it's really great to see this coming into the green. It's going to help the businesses up there. It's going to help the people connect and have a destination and make it safe and easy for them to get there. Couple of quick comments and questions. For the Whitney Ave sidewalk part, is there any widening of the road itself, or is it going to stay in its current footprint? And will that include striping of a gutter in any way to kind of try to make it feel less comfortable for the current speed on the road? It's flagged for 25, but we know people do a lot more than that. My question is rooted in bike traffic.
Right. Trent, do you want to respond to the question?
Yeah, as you can see in the existing picture on the left, Gary's presenting here, there is striping, but there is no proposed widening of the roadway there. What we've tried to do is keep the sidewalk, again, pushed as far away from the curb line as possible to try to increase the comfort of anyone using the sidewalk. The issue we run into is the further, obviously, you push the wall into the hillside, the taller the walls become, the more expensive the project becomes. So unfortunately, we couldn't widen the road there to provide a little bit more space for a bicyclist, or to provide a wider sidewalk or a larger snow shelf.
Okay, yeah, great. I saw the black drawing on the edge and I wondered if the wide road was getting wider. The second is on that slide. It's great transition. I picture stopping at some of the food stores in the green, and on my way back down to the trail, sitting on that stone wall, hoping that those trees grow up to be coverage, shade trees. Is it anticipated that those stone walls might support that kind of kids with their legs dangling off, or you know, family sitting and having a cold drink on the way to or from the trail?
The walls won't, the ideal seating height is somewhere between 16 and 18 inches. They won't be conducive to that. I wouldn't find this to be the most comfortable place to sit because of the traffic with its proximity. But anyone could boost themselves up and sit on that wall, but we're certainly not encouraging it with the height. If that was preference, well, we do have a slope to negotiate, and we're trying to negotiate that slope as quickly as we can without having to cut back. So if the thinking is that it would be preferable to reduce the height of the wall, that'll have a consequence into the slope and could add considerable cost to the construction and more excavation on the upper part of the slope.
No, I just looked at it. I wasn't suggesting that we should. When I looked at that, what I saw was people sitting on that. So you answered my question. Thank you.
They very well could, but we're certainly not encouraging it with the height of the wall.
Okay. Last question, back on the intersection itself. If there's a dedicated pedestrian cross interval, why do we not put crosswalks on all sides? The issue is, and I realize that we moved the crosswalk from the drawing from the south side to the north side, but if you're coming out of Long Hill Green and you're heading south on 111, you've got to navigate two crossings, which is not as easy. And so what we'll end up doing is we'll encourage people to walk not on the crosswalk because it's shorter, because pedestrians are lazy.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, it's a good question. As Kent had pointed out, the crosswalk here will be situated and located to the northern part of Main Street. Kent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, yeah, that's correct.
The police commission was, and they were fairly adamant about it. With traffic coming down the slope, they were afraid that someone would overrun the traffic signal and a pedestrian in this crosswalk would be more at risk. We don't believe, Shelby, in the future that it would, as we're modeling behavior and the police are monitoring behavior here, that a crosswalk could not be added in the future. Then you can complete the trifecta. But at the present time, the police commission was most comfortable going ahead with the crosswalk at this location as opposed to the southern location. But again, we're not doing anything here that would preclude that crosswalk from being striped out in the future.
great. Thank you.
You got it.
Okay, any other comments or questions on the presentation?
Yeah, I have a question.
Fire away.
Okay, hi, this is Jean Gibbs again. I have two questions. In any of these phases, will any of the wires, the telephone wires, will they be altered or consolidated in any way? And the second question was, over by the gazebo area, when you get to that, will there be outlets there? Like for, I don't know, some type of event or something, like, will there be any outlets?
I believe there are connections already within the green. I just can't remember exactly where they are, Gene, but I know there are connections there. Though this project does not involve any relocation of wires, we do have some utility poles along Whitney Avenue, and there are some guy wires that Ken could shed more detail on, and there's actually some that have been tied across the roadway to the other side of the street again, but they're support wires, they're not power or any communication, they're not power or communication lines. When we were working on the green plan, we did communicate with the electrical companies and other utilities, and we came up with an idea and a strategy to take the wires that are now hanging over the green, let's just say they're going east and west, and moving them out so they align with Main Street and cross the intersection and make their way along Whitney Avenue, so that those wires, and if you're out there now, you'll see how low they're hanging and how heavy they are, to remove the wires from the airspace directly over the green and over the plaza. But they were just discussions, and there seemed like there was a way of doing that and consolidating. but the price tag would be multiple times 6 figures to accomplish that. So it would be an expensive undertaking. But nothing is proposed within these plans, the projects we shared with you today, to relocate or consolidate any overhead wires.
Okay. I just want to tell you, I think this project is gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love the sidewalks. The stone walls are great. And I'm just so excited that we're doing this. And thank you for the rendering.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, well, thank you very much for the presentation. Very thorough, very encouraging. I guess-
Ralph, excuse me, I'm sorry, it's Vicky.
Yes,
How are you?
good, and you?
Good, thanks. So I just want to echo the comments made here. Gary, this is, just a great depiction and in reality as well. I visit this area of town often because I live right up the street, and we frequent a lot of the businesses in there, and it has just turned into such a fabulous area. So thank you so much for all your hard work.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Vicky.
Ralph,
Okay.
this is Matt Fuller from
Anybody else?
Metro
Okay,
Just one question for Gary or Bill Mauer. I believe, Gary, you referenced that the final designs had been reviewed by DOT already. Have they issued the notice to proceed yet, or do you expect that prior to the middle of October?
For which project, Matt?
For the, for the community connectivity portion of this entire program here. So the community connectivity grant that's funding, I believe, the sidewalk and the
The Main
crossing.
Street sidewalks, the
Yeah.
Whitney Avenue sidewalks, there's no DOT involvement with that, but the Main Street sidewalks,
Yes.
Kent could probably answer that question, but I don't believe we've gotten that notification because it's still.
We have not gotten the notice to
Okay.
proceed. We are working toward that. When everything's totally approved, all the designs, everything's finalized, then they'll issue the notice to proceed. We
Okay.
do not have that.
I'm only asking because they just released the next solicitation for the community connectivity grants,
Right.
and you're not eligible if you haven't received the notice to proceed yet. So I'm just
Right.
curious
And
where
so-
that was in the time frame.
We're aware that it couldn't, because we have another grant, it could, we could be, not competitive this round. It's nothing, we have to get those easements in place
Yeah.
and other things too, in order to get there. We're
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
we're not far from it, Matt, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Well, keep me posted. If there's anything I can do on my end, let me know.
I think we ought to talk about it after Labor Day.
Sure.
Because I know those funds are going to be competitive. Do you know how much total funding they have?
I believe it's 13.4, but I might have just made that up. So I'll look it up and tell you.
Yeah. And so what he's talking about, just commissioners, is that there's another round now of community connectivity money. We won a fairly sizable $400,000 grant, and we may be either precluded from applying, or we would be less competitive because we already have a grant, even if we are, moving forward. So we're going to have a discussion. It may be worth us applying for something small. And sometimes those smaller projects, because they're already investing in an area, could help us to slip into something. So we'll talk, Matt, offline.
Sure. No problem.
So just for clarification, Matt, a notice to proceed on the current connectivity grant would essentially clean the slate for the town to be more competitive on a future application.
Yeah, based on the email I received from DOT on Friday, they basically were not going to consider projects that were already funded under this program that had not received at least their notice to proceed before. The
Okay.
grant submission.
Maybe
But I
that's
was just trying to figure out where you were.
Kent.
It's possible.
Just kidding. But we'll talk about it because we have a few months. Well, we have about a month and a half
Month and a half. Yeah, I think it's the 16th, I believe, is the submission. Yeah, 16th.
deadline.
Okay.
okay, any other questions or comments?
I'd like to make one comment.
Okay,
I'd like to thank Rena for all her hard work on this. She keeps pushing Long Hill Green. This is going to be very nice when it's all done.
Thanks, Bill.
Here, here.
Agree.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the director's report. I guess the presenters can take their leave unless, Rena, you think there's something
No, I don't think
they need to talk about.
we don't need them for anything else. The next time we'd be sort of in this kind of a group is when we have that town hall meeting that I discussed earlier that we're going to be setting up that will include public infrastructure projects like these, probably some more information on the Pequannock Trail that's going through Trumbull Center as one of the ongoing public infrastructure, some of the stuff Bill's working on in the Strobel Road area. All these other projects will be included in that town hall. So again, we'll be getting it out and we'll be seeing some of these same folks again.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Very thorough.
Thank you for the opportunity, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're on to the director's report.
Okay. So I wanted to open up by saying that, you know, so much has happened. You know, what was it? I said if we were going to do our breakfast in October again this year, I would open my lineup saying, well, that didn't go as planned here. Right now, that annual breakfast, I just want to say, I have a holding date for November 6th. Folks, I don't see that happening as any kind of in-person gathering. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what the future holds, but it doesn't look promising. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was deferring that to the spring, because I do think an in-person gathering has great value for networking, for enthusiasm, and so forth. There are a lot of forums that we're going to be doing on Zoom that we've already done. We did a town hall meeting on jobs back in July. We're going to do this town hall meeting on public and infrastructure projects and our private development projects and the status of those. So we're going to be doing other programming, if you will, between, you know, over this next few months. But and I don't know how the commission feels, if they feel we should do something like an online breakfast. But I have to tell you, I've attended some of those and they're okay, but we have a budget and I would love to do something really good in the spring as sort of a, wow, we got through this and where are we going from here? I don't know the appetite of the commission. Ralph, if you don't mind entertaining some discussion right now on that.
Sure, I think it's a good idea personally, but let's hear from others. Comments?
It makes sense to do that.
If we could do it, definitely.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to the Marriott. I was holding November 6th. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm going to talk to some other folks. I'll talk to Vicky and some others, and maybe Ralph will talk offline about, and Evelyn and Beryl are my wing women for the breakfast. I'm going to look at the spring and we'll come up with a date that we put on hold for that, for our breakfast. If that sounds like a consensus there, that's how I'll proceed. I want to say there's a lot of good things happening in the business community. We are blessed that our major development projects, and we have a large number of them. We have the CVS Plaza. I don't know if anybody's been over there yet. Starbucks should be opening very soon. It looks fabulous. I think it looks fabulous. I went into the CVS. It's a great CVS if you haven't been in there. It looks great. And the change there is going to make way for other changes in Trumbull Center that I hope we start to hear about soon. We have the trail that's going through Trumbull Center. So there is work happening there. We have a new business that opened during the pandemic in Trumbull Center. It's a salon that is over in the 2 Daniels Farm Road building near Giovie's and Fatty Patty. That's called Unique Beauty Salon. And they do want to do a ribbon cutting. We've been sort of holding off on ribbon cuttings because it's hard to control 25 people showing or not showing and all, you know, if it's indoors, outdoors, you know, we can do more. But we are going to start scheduling some ribbon cuttings in the next month or two. You'll be hearing about those. And they're one of the folks that I have to get over and see and get a date on a calendar. So it's Unique Beauty Salon. opened again in Trumbull Center. We had another new business that wants to do something called Springtide. They opened at 126 Monroe Turnpike in the building that Make-A-Wish used to be in. You know, Make-A-Wish is doing their Connecticut headquarters in our Trumbull Corporate Park, a much bigger footprint and a much more vibrant headquarters than what they had here in town. So that building where they used to be, Springtide, which is an organization that helps people and families that have folks that they're affected by autism. They've opened up in there. They took approximately 5,000 square feet of space in that building. You all know that Amazon opened and is ramping up their operation here in Trumbull. Hopefully you've gone by the Amazon facility. The facility is a much cleaned up site. We've been trying to communicate with the community about upticks in traffic and other things there. We're monitoring that in an ongoing way. I can tell you, Vicky's on the line. We've been meeting with their economic development team, very communicative. They want to support the community. So we've had good interaction so far. We've talked about a lot of communication. If there are any problems that have to be worked out, let's get ahead of them. So, you know, so far, so good. We obviously didn't do a ribbon cutting because they opened in the middle, you know, of this pandemic. But we're happy that things are going relatively, I'm knocking on wood, smoothly there. Things seem to be going relatively smoothly. We're going to have Image First Healthcare Laundry open in September. I'm working with them on their hiring needs and their public transportation needs. We had a meeting last week on that. They're in our corporate park. They've invested quite a lot of money into 50 Commerce Drive to re-outfit that particular building, that 64,000 square foot building, and they will be opening. I mentioned Make-A-Wish. They're making a great deal of progress on their facility. Their office area is open, but the entire building's not completed yet. Right behind them, we had a Power Home Remodelers, a national home builder, take 26,000 square feet right behind where Make-A-Wish is going to be, and they're in the process of, you know, their permits and getting their space fit out and ready. So Trumbull has seen some significant corporate location during this difficult time. We're proud of that, but we've also got some real challenges, retail challenges. I don't think I need to tell anybody that retail has taken sort of a triple hit during this with closures, and then online sales were affecting retail prior to that, and then the fact that so many people now with COVID are doing even more online purchasing. So we have some real challenges with retail ahead. Our restaurants, by and large, most of them, not all, but most of them have reopened. It has been told to me that Wahlburgers will reopen probably in September, but it's very tough for our restaurants. It does not look like, or at least I'm not, and Vicki, you might have more information than I do because she gets more daily information, but it does not look like any changes for phase 3 reopening or capacity changes for our restaurants in the foreseeable future. So as you know, the weather starts to change and their capacity continues to be limited or get even more limited given the weather issues, it is really hard for them to pay their fixed expenses with reduced revenue streams. So we are going to see a lot of challenges in our restaurants, in our retail businesses, in our Main Street businesses. I think we will see more closures between now and February than we've seen so far. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they're able to see it through. We're trying to support our businesses the best we can, but it's very, very difficult times, and we don't know what fall's going to bring in terms of additional challenges. Let's hope that we don't take steps backwards, at least, right? So for all of you, Eve is not on, is she? I don't know if Eve made it on our call, but I'm going to share with you, Eve and our intern, Madeline Marsh, we cannot do a restaurant week this year, which is really disappointing to me. We had such a great week last year, thanks to everybody here in our restaurant week committee and all our collaborating restaurants. It was a really great and fun kickoff of Trumbull Restaurant Week. We had bigger and better plans this year, and things changed. So we're really using, and Eve is helping a lot with this with our intern Madeline, to use our Restaurant Week site just to support local in any way. They're just grabbing any kind of social media from the restaurants, just trying to constantly send it out and remind people to try to support our local establishments and tell them what is going on there. And they're doing all of this as volunteers, and we appreciate all of their efforts. They have a number of civic and community organizations that they've reached out to. And what their idea was to go to these civic organizations. So let's say, for example, the Rotary, and they would take a week and they would spend, that particular civic organization would spend a week pushing specific buy local and support our restaurant kinds of things to their membership, so that they would really push their membership to be more active and supportive of our local establishments. And so that's going to be kicking off this week, I believe. The Trumbull Chamber, the Rotary, there's different groups that Eve and Madeline have lined up. The Seniors Center, Michelle Jacobs has been a great partner. She's going to be encouraging all of her membership and raising awareness and so forth. So that we are trying to do. You know, all of our development projects, thankfully, are continuing. They're pretty much on schedule. Some are ahead of schedule, actually. But they have not lost their financing so far. Thank God, they're solid. I am in touch with all of the key people on every development almost weekly, and just to make sure progress is going along. Are there any issues? Because if you look around to some neighboring communities, projects are being canceled or losing their financing. The town I live in, Shelton, there's a major retail development on Bridgeport Avenue that's lost its financing. It's half constructed. It's enormous. It doesn't present well to the main corridor of Bridgeport Avenue. And that project will probably sit for some time until people come in and sort of somehow rescue it. And I don't know all the details, but I get nervous. You know, it's a scary thought. It can happen anywhere, actually. And we've been very lucky that it hasn't. And part of why it hasn't is because the folks that have come forward to do development have been very solid in our community. I'm not suggesting that someone else is not solid in another community. I don't mean to say that. But these are folks with a fair amount of wherewithal, and they've done a lot of planning around their projects. And I think our Planning and Zoning Commission did a good job with them, and others. Trumbull's an attractive community to do business. So far, our projects are moving along. I keep saying this, but if you have not gone over to the Reservoir, Lindeman, Oakview Avenue area, I understand some people don't like to hear what's going on there because they feel it's just too big of a change for town. But I can tell you that if you drive over there, and people that have driven through there and residents have called me saying, I cannot believe how awesome it looks over there. There are people that really do like how it looks, and they're shocked. And I had one woman call me and say, I was totally against this. And she's like, I can't believe how nice this is looking. And, you know, so I think that, you know, there's always going to be pros and cons to change. But if you haven't been over there, I really think you should make it a point to drive through there and see what's happening in that neighborhood. And with so many new people moving into Trumbull and enjoying their residence there. And candidly, I'm going to knock on wood when I say this, we have not had major issues with anything. The number of school children so far at 10 Trumbull is remaining low as they're renting their units. So we're not seeing a big family influx, but we will continue to monitor it because we know that's a legitimate concern that the community has, of course. But we're not seeing what many feared. We're not seeing any major issues with public safety at this point. Vicki can tell you we check in with our police department on how things are going there, and if there's any issues. Things, knock on wood, are going very well so far. Even the business and other property owners in the area there are thrilled with what's going on. They feel it's good for their investment, their property, and their businesses. So, you know, again, more we'll talk about in detail on that town hall meeting. And I think that you heard the major project updates from, tonight on some of the public stuff. If anybody has any other questions for me on, anything that's going on in town, I'd be happy to answer your question. I will say this, there's a hearing on September 3rd, which is this Thursday. There's a proposal for 260 units of luxury market rate rental at the mall in accordance with the 2018 regulation that was passed. They opened their public hearing, I want to say, in July. There was supposed to be a hearing on August 19th, but the members got changes and information late to the commission, and the commission felt and the staff felt that they needed more time to digest those changes. They're very important changes, and changes that I think that people wanted to see in terms of traffic and entrance and so forth. So they delayed that, and they did not allow that hearing to go forward. So they're going to be hearing them again on September 3rd. It would be important, if you care about that project and you care about the mall, to tune in to that public hearing and that presentation. Does
When
any
was that? Wait,
what?
what? I'm sorry. Could you just please repeat the date of that?
September 3rd, which is this Thursday. P&Z usually meets on Wednesdays, but this is a special meeting. So
Okay.
it's September 3rd. And I think that if you go to the website, the Zoom information's on the agenda there. You can find that. I can get it out to folks if you'd like it directly, if the commissioners are that interested, but you can also pull it right off the website.
Okay.
So I continue to be concerned about our only hotel in town, the Trumbull Marriott. Although they did very well the week of the power outages, they were sold out. But we continue to be concerned because they're a major revenue stream, and Vicki and I have met with them, and Deanna Nafrio from BRBC. We had a meeting with them, I don't know, a month or so ago. And I continue to stay involved with them and check in, but their major revenue comes from events, weddings, conferences, that kind of thing. And the hotel is a smaller part of their revenue stream for their business. So the longer, when we met, I want to say it was back in the end of July, Vicki, it was like July 27th to 29th, something like that. We thought we'd be seeing perhaps some more expansion of that 25 indoor gathering restriction by now, but we see that that is not the case. So we will be again following up with them more frequently, and they're again just going to struggle as a result of that. Any other questions for me?
Yep.
Fire away.
All right. One is regarding Restaurant Week. I actually personally think that they need our help more this year than last year in some way, not to give out a discount of any sort, but that week that you picked last year was the slowest week for them. And, as I try to go in places and patronize them and I talk to people, I really feel for them. And I would help Eve in some capacity. The other day driving up to New Haven, I don't know if anybody's seen that big billboard for New Haven. It says New Haven Restaurant Week Remix. And I took a double take. I was like, you know what? Good for them. Good for them for having this huge billboard to make people just start thinking about that event. The second thing is I wanted to ask Rena, how are things going with the disaster committee? Have businesses been taking advantage of these opportunities from the state? Like, how are they doing?
So a good number of our businesses have applied for and received some level of assistance, whether it be the PPP program or the ELDI or SBA loans or whatever. They've applied, but the problem is that the longer, those were stopgap things that were very helpful. But what's happening is there's a prolonged reduction in their potential revenue that's going beyond the window that many of us as the potential window, so, there's a need for more rent relief assistance, particularly for our small Main Street businesses, because they've probably burned through any relief that they've been given already. So, and as this continues, their fixed costs are not going down and their revenues are limited. So one of the things we tried to do, so the state of Connecticut, and the reason you saw that billboard in New Haven is that New Haven gets direct HUD funding called Community Development Block Grant Fund. So communities of a population under 50,000 do not get a direct allocation from HUD, but cities and towns like Stratford, Fairfield, New Haven, Bridgeport get direct CDBG. And there's been some increased infusion of dollars into the CDBG program. So HUD has allowed them to use those dollars for economic development activity around the prevention, preparation, response to COVID. And so New Haven is one of the communities that has stepped up to use their CDBG to support their businesses in that way. I was on a call yesterday at noon, and they were discussing what New Haven was doing, and you saw part of what they were doing when you're driving. We were frustrated. I was on the call. My colleague from Newtown was on the call. She's my counterpart up there. And we sort of, I don't want to say we unleashed, but we unleashed a little bit on Lindy Gold, who we love from Department of Economic and Community Development. She's fabulous. And she didn't even know about this. What communities that are under 50,000, we still have an opportunity to go to compete for CDBG funding, but we have to do it through the state through a program called the Small Cities Funding. And that Small Cities Funding, HUD allows those same uses of funds. We could have, if they would apply for all the categories that HUD would allow us to use that new COVID small cities money for, we could have done a rental relief program for Trumbull. And we've been talking about all of this at the Long-Term Recovery Committee. So those of you who are involved with that have heard this. What happened was Connecticut made a state policy not to allow economic development category as a potential for us to apply for. We were very disappointed. Vicky's been advocating. We've been talking to as many people. Matt Fulda, who was on our call earlier, he's helping to run the regional long-term recovery. He brought it up the food chain there. They basically barred us from using the funds there. So we're going to continue to advocate that they open up that pool of funding for such uses for us. It would be so valuable for Trumbull. I mean, say we got a $500,000 grant award, we could save upwards of 20 of our local businesses. That's tremendous to Trumbull. It's tremendous when you think about the impact of 20 more vacant storefronts somewhere. So we're not going to give up. We're going to continue to push, but again, we're not the decision makers because we don't have a direct allocation. So we did apply for that long-term recovery committee. We did apply for a small amount of funding to do a local meals program for people that have to stay home still, stay safe, or they have to self-quarantine. And we proposed using our local restaurants for a direct delivery process. Michelle Jacob is our partner in that. Lucy, our health director, our committee is working on that. And we only applied for $100,000, but that's $100,000 worth of business economic activity that would not be in the restaurant community here. So we're hoping to get that. It's a small impact, not like the rent relief would be, but we tried to make, lemonade with the lemons, or at least lemon rinds, whatever. I don't know. I would like to make limoncello, but so that is what we did there. We also, just on a side note, just finished an application for STEEP funds as a starter grant for our Veterans and First Responder Center. We applied for that, I want to say I think it was like the end of last week it was due. So that went in and we're waiting to hear back on that as well. We have a lot going on despite the difficult times that we're in, but I expect an extremely, extremely difficult next 4 months for our retail businesses and our restaurants and our hotel. Our corporate community, our office type uses, some of our local medical are doing a little bit better.
May I ask you, wait,
ahead.
I'm sorry, Skip. May I ask you what's going on with that, the florist, the one next to St. Joe's? Is that okay to ask?
The what?
You know, the
Building on Main Street.
Oh, the building? Oh, the
Yeah.
diocese owns that building
Yeah.
and they own the Brown House next door. Last year, I believe, they combined those lots and rezoned that Long Hill Green business commercial because it was a pre-existing non-conforming zoning. So they brought it to a Long Hill Green business commercial, and the diocese is in charge of the disposition of that property and what they will do with it. You know, it's my understanding that they do want to sell it, and I'm not sure if the sale price that they potentially are looking for is going to bring a lot of activity or not. I don't, you know, there's challenges there. It's been pretty quiet recently about that property. So, you know, that's a tough project to bring forward right now.
All right,
But it
guys,
is
wait, Skip,
it's
wait,
zoned
one last
for
thing.
it.
Go ahead, fire away.
It's zoned for it.
Okay. So guys, today I was on the scooter. I had time. I drove all over Trumbull. And one
Sending
of the places,
pictures.
yes, and I was texting Arena. I'm like, oh my God, look at this, look at that. Well, you know what? So picture me with my helmet, buzzing around. I go up to CVS. I go around by Starbucks. I go around the building. But before I do, I saw the really cool state-of-the-art Starbucks kiosk where you give your order. And then in the back, there's also another drive-through for CVS. And I just thought it was so beautiful. I actually called the property owner and I left a message. And I just said, I expressed all good things. And you know what? It's, in spite of these crazy times, there still are positive things going on big time. That's all.
So this is a really good time for commission members to use those postcards, drop notes, thank people for toughing it out. I mean, it's very emotional for a lot of our businesses, what they're going through. They're trying to keep their folks employed. They're trying to keep the doors open. So any ideas for support, please message me, text me, call me, email me, whatever your preference is. And, you know, we're trying to activate as many things. We don't have any kind of significant budget to do a big marketing effort or rental relief on our own. So we're trying to get these grant funds, and you heard what ended up happening.
Yeah, let me second Rena's comment there. And just one case study, I had an opportunity to go to the new barber shop north of Town Hall there. And actually with mixed emotions, because I've been here 40 years and my kids grew up in that barber shop, as did most of their friends and fathers. And number one, they're trying hard and doing a good job. There are two young guys in there. They've totally redone the interior, and yet they set aside a corner for sort of history where they put an old barber chair and some old pictures, and they're kind of honoring their the past. But I also dropped off a couple of business cards and just said, you know, if there's anything the town can do that would help you, let me know or let Rena know. And I got a very, very positive response. Basically, they said it's nice to know somebody cares and nice to know we have somebody to contact, and that goes a long way. We don't have a checkbook we can pull out to write checks, but we can certainly thank them for being here and let them know they've got communications opportunities, both through commissioners and through the administration. So
Yep.
please carry those business cards and use them.
Thanks, Ralph.
Rena,
Reminded me, Ralph, I spoke with the two gentlemen there, and we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting for them. And the other place we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting for is the gas station that's been totally remodeled and purchased by a new owner last year across from Stop and Shop.
Yep.
So we have got a lot of pent up celebrating to do too. The problem is that people are a little leery about getting together, having people in a group at their establishment. They don't want to create, any kind of problem there. So we're going to have to manage that. You'll be hearing more about these events.
So if I could, Rena, 1 second,
Yep.
just interrupt. So I believe I spoke to Rena about this a while ago. It's I'm going to plan on, right after Labor Day, starting to visit our businesses around town and just stopping in, doing exactly what Ralph did, visiting with businesses, seeing how they're doing, how we can help them, how we can support them. So that is my plan, as I said, right after Labor Day, to start doing that a few times during the week.
Right,
Great.
and Vicki and I have been talking to the businesses by Zoom and that kind of thing, but actually showing up will be really meaningful to them. I think they're just really, it's tough times.
Okay, any other questions for Rena?
Ralph, I've got a question if I can.
Okay.
One of the issues that restaurants have is the adequate spacing and enough seats to make that that profitable, quote unquote, profitable in this time. I know that some of the places have expanded out. How are we managing that, or how are we talking to them? Or do they come to us? Are we approaching them? Do we have a special provision in our P&Z that has passed for that, or what's that landscape look like?
The governor put an executive order back some months ago. I want to say it was probably May or June, that empowered us at the local level to expedite permits for outdoor seating. So we reached out to all of our, on the front end, as soon as this happened, we reached out via email to all, we did it even before the governor's order because we knew it was coming, and we had wanted to do something like this even ahead of the executive order. So we had done an email out to all of our restaurants, and there's certain retail businesses that are eligible for outdoor expansion too. And we explained to them, and then we put an expedited process in place that's very clear. And Rob Labrandy, who is our town planner, did a really good job of being the kind of point person to expedite through all the town departments, because the fire marshal, the building department, sometimes police and stuff needs, health department need to chime in. So rather than making the restaurant owner run around to all of those, Rob was like the key point person, and Linda, his assistant too, to help to facilitate those changes. And then Rob and Bob Dunn, who leads our building department, went out and did the inspection like within 24 hours of it. So, we're trying to facilitate as much as we can. The governor just extended last week his executive order for that outdoor dining to November 12th to allow us to continue. Now, obviously it can get chilly into the late October and November, but at least if people want to do it and they want to put, something outside to warm it up, they have an option, because that signals to me that the indoor capacity changes, may not be coming immediately.
Okay,
On fire.
And do we allow them to install plastic sides and things like that to help heat?
When it starts to get into things like that, that goes beyond what the grace is intended for, because there are fire codes and other things that we have got to deal with, because God forbid, safety has to come first. So we will work with anybody that's looking to do something, like weatherproofing or that kind of thing. But there are codes that are safety related that have to be, adhered to and followed. And we don't want any tragedy, right, associated with any of this. So we will work with everybody, but there's a little bit more to it when that kind of thing starts getting involved, Shelby.
Thank you.
okay, any other questions? All right. Community input, do we have any community members present, so to speak, and would like to comment or question? Okay, I guess not. We need to go back and we still haven't approved the June minutes because when we started the meeting, we didn't have a quorum. We do now. My question is whether each of you have gone through those minutes, given our remote situation. They're available through the town's website. Is everyone read them and want to comment on them, or do we want to wait till the next meeting and approve both June and September at the same time? Thoughts? Okay, well, let's try. Do we have a motion or?
Skip, I'd move that we accept the meeting minutes. This is Shelby Levino, by the way.
Yep.
Second.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Nobody opposed, so by a 5-0 vote, the minutes are approved. Again, we have no community input, so do we have a motion? Well, do we have any other issues we want to bring up before we adjourn?
Shelby, did you want to give an update on the Sustainable Committee? I know the application was submitted, but I don't know if you have anything to add.
I don't. Since COVID started, I've been working for a healthcare publishing company. I've been less involved. I know that and probably no less than you do, Rena, but I know that the application was submitted. That was after a couple of iterations and some feedback, and we're waiting to hear about final approval. It's not clear to me if it's not approved, if we have another opportunity to respond to the feedback, but the approval process happens. There are 10 different segments, nine actual segments, and each segment gets considered by experts in the field. So it's not one commission that weighs in. It's all individual. So I think there is some feedback opportunity after this, but yeah, the application was submitted and we're waiting to hear now.
Right, so the goal of the approval of the application is to designate Trumbull as a sustainable community at either a bronze, silver, gold, different level. And once we're designated, that opens us up to potential grant opportunities for sustainability projects and other technical assistance as a community on sustainability issues. So that's something that we're hoping to hear from in the coming months.
Okay, any other questions, comments, input? Let me remind you what Rena said about the Thursday night meeting, P&Z special meeting. I think it's at 7 o'clock. You can check on the town website and their tab, if you will. I would encourage all of us to listen in if we could, because it's an important issue focused on the apartments at the mall. And it's something we ought to be all conversant about. Anything else? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, our next Tuesday.
We lost you, Ralph.
As am I. And Rena, any thoughts, comments?
I didn't hear you, Ralph. You froze up.
Oh, I just said encourage people to Zoom into the P&Z meeting on Thursday. And
Yeah.
We'll meet again by Zoom
In
the first Tuesday in October, 7 o'clock, and that you were available for one-on-one conversations in between.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just, I want to just say, I'm working on our regular newsletter again. Like, I've been sending so many updates that are blasts related to COVID, but I haven't done our quarterly newsletter since our June edition. And I have a draft that I'm working on that will go out in September. It's more of it's not about COVID. It's really about just our regular economic development activity, our regular newsletter. All the other blasts, if you're not getting them, I hope you will go and sign up under the website, under Notify Me on our economic development page, because you should see what's going on and what's going out. And if you want to catch up as to what's going on and what's going out, you can go to our COVID Business Recovery Resource page. There's multiple sections that we've built of that page. There's, financial resources, technical assistance resources. There are reopening guidelines for all the industries. But then there's a section called updates. So every blast that I've sent since, I want to say March, when we kind of had the shutdown, is archived there. And you can see that we've been sending that to our economic development list and any subscribers, and trying to give them swift information about what, different things that are going on. One's going out, it may have gone out during this meeting. I sent it to Patty Zloblocky, who's been great, and Bill Chin, who is kind of keeping us all connected. Has been great helping to get all of those blasts out. And people write me after they get them and they thank us for, sharing with them and so forth. So I hope you're getting them. And if you know people that need information, make sure you direct them to that page and tell them to sign up.
Okay, thank you. I see Vicky's with us here. Any comments, closing comments? Okay.
Sorry, took my glasses off. I can't see a thing.
Oh,
No, I just, again, obviously from tonight's meeting, you see all the great things that keep happening in Trumbull. And that's what we have to keep our eye on in these very challenging times, because you ride around and you see all the development that's ongoing here in this community. I think it gives people some hope. And, when we had that storm a few weeks ago, we knew that there was a definite end to the storm. It took about a week, unfortunately, to clean it up. But with COVID, we don't know when it's going to end. And that's, giving people high anxiety. So I'm just happy to see on the economic front, at least our development part, we're, moving forward in a very positive direction. So, and I will have to say from my own personal experience, that town hall gazebo is a really nice place to have a wedding.
Congratulations. Vicky's daughter got married on, was it Saturday or Sunday?
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
And you got to see the pictures. The area out there was transformed. I thought I was in I don't know, Westminster or something. I don't know. It looked so beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing what some flowers and chairs will do.
Did
So,
Cityline do her flowers?
I'm sorry?
Who did her flowers?
City Line.
You know what? I saw your picture, and then Cityline had on their social media page, they didn't name who it was. And I said, I think those were the flowers from Vicky's daughter's wedding. They were so beautiful.
Yes, they did a fabulous job. So really the caterer was from Trumbull, the flowers were from Trumbull. So we were supporting Trumbull businesses for this this wedding on last weekend. So it was a lot of fun.
Great. Congratulate her again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
okay, thanks for your comments. Anything else from anybody? If not, we'll close the meeting and see you the first Tuesday in October, if not before. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
To
Everybody.
get together again.